Okay, welcome everyone to this month's Facebook Live. We're in March. Can you believe it? We're in March. And today we are with Angus Morrison from Morrison ABS. Introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, where you're based, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm based in Mentone, southeast Melbourne suburb, and do, well, I suppose typical accounting work plus profit first work. Plus we run finance teams for businesses as well. So just a whole range of tax services, and then set up and management of profit first. And the finance teams are when we sort of manage the whole finance function for clients.
Okay, that sounds like a lot. You must keep busy.
Yeah, it's flat out. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I guess my first question is, what made you become a profit first professional?
Well, just I suppose there are a few reasons. One was just to get involved with the group. So I was doing my own sort of bastardized version of profit first before I'd been introduced to the book, before I'd heard of it actually. And then so an advertising guy, who's a really good guy based in Brighton, Peter Sandor, told me about it, and he was doing a branding consultation for my business. It's a long story, but he said, you should focus on this type of work, this area, market yourself as like, a profit accountant and so on. And he suggested I read the book. So I read the book, and it was good. I enjoyed reading it, and the philosophy behind the book sort of fitted in really closely to what I was trying to convey to clients at the same time. So yeah, I found out about the organisation, and it all just went from there.
I remember we first met in person when Mike was here from the US. That was the first time we met.
Yeah, it was a while ago now, actually.
It was so long ago. How long ago was that?
Yeah, it was at least a couple
of years.
Yeah,
that was interesting because Mike came over to do I guess a visit. There was a couple of conferences he was doing down here and talking about profit first, and met up with other profit first professionals here in Australia. So that was the first time we sort of connected. So that was awesome. Tell me, what is it that you currently do with clients when it comes to profit first? How do you work with them? What is different? What are the outcomes you're seeking?
Yeah, I suppose the first thing when you say, or ask what's different, but I'm not sure what everyone else does, but what I always do is go through the business model in a fair bit of detail. And I find that a lot of people who make inquiries through Profit First really want clarity around their business model. So we generally sit down and just do it face-to-face or via Zoom. So I've done it for a lot of people around Australia. We sit down and go through the business model in detail. And from that understanding, the business owners then realise where they're at and what they need to do to make the profit that they want, or improve their business, or what they need to focus on. And also from that, they can then get an understanding of how they can start managing their cash flow. So It's really, So it's quite detailed. So we do go into a fair bit of analysis around what they're selling, their margins, and all that sort of thing. But we find that it's what the business owners like getting, that they get a lot of clarity from it. So they typically leave knowing exactly what they need to do with their business and where it's at, and what they need to do to make the profit they want. And then we sort of overlay the profit first cash flow management on top of that, how they're going to start setting up bank accounts and just managing cash flow and that sort of thing.
Brilliant. Yeah, because I know that the analysis that you go into with your clients is very, very in-depth. And I guess, the people that are working with you are absolutely invested in getting that clarity around, not only what their business model is, but what they're trying to achieve out of their business as well. And so I guess the question is, what do you work with a particular type of industry, or are you working with any sort of business that is at that point where they just need the clarity?
Yeah, so there are a couple of industries that we've sort of chanced upon. One is fitness and gyms. That's sort of by accident, really, but we've got a few gymnasium clients, CrossFits, that sort of thing. The other industry is builders, and that was through connection through Mike with Mick Hawes, who's a business coach in Tassie, and he's a massive advocate of Profit First. So I've been doing a bit of work with his his clients.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've got to know sort of the building industry reasonably well, and then there are all other industries as well. So it's certainly not a solution that's industry specific. It applies for all businesses, and all businesses are selling something. They've got costs that they have to factor in, and yeah, I don't think there's any need to restrict your analysis or expertise to one or two industries.
Absolutely. And so tell me about the Profit First implementation in your own business. So it's been a journey, as it is for most people.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I've played around with a few different formats, from doing it quite intensively when I started, to then not doing it as intensively, and sort of sometimes it's been let slip a little, and then sort of coming back to a bit of a middle ground. I suppose one thing I've found helpful is to get someone else to do the transfers, because I think there's sort of a psychological issue with a lot of business owners, is that you're paying out a lot of money in tax, and I think a lot of people just don't like making that transfer, and I can relate, I can understand. So anyway, I've got my admin team every week. They just go in and look at the bank accounts and do the transfers for me. And I'll see a big chunk going out to tax, and I go, "Where'd that money go?" All right, really, that much? And yeah, just a little bit goes out to profit every week, and it just sort of goes from there. So it's been good. Yeah, I think the thing about Profit First, I suppose for my business, just like every other business, it provides a bit of structure and it takes care of taxes. So the biggest issue I see financially, or where businesses get into trouble, is that, well, either they've got a business model that's just not generating the profit they need, or they're just not managing their cash flow, and that's typically not putting aside money for tax. So so the process I go through is probably pretty similar to what a lot of clients go through and what we recommend for them.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is that people want to work with someone that's like walking the talk, not just in theory. And the fact is, like, Profit First initially, people want to go gung-ho, and your business may not be at the point where that's viable. And so it's like, okay, no, I need to step back a bit and find that middle ground. And then, as your business changes, then there's changes to Profit First that are needed and that sort of thing. Question for you, with your taxes and that sort of thing, do you transfer it to a tax account, or do you pay it directly to the ATO when you do that transfer?
Yeah, I pay it straight to the ATO. Yeah, I can't really see the point in holding on to it. There's no sort of interest income that you're going to receive with the interest rates today. The timing difference is so small, in terms of, your BASs are every quarter. And once it's paid to the ATO, they won't give it back, so you're not going to spend it on other things. So so with the payroll, we do the pay as you go on the super the same day, and GST percentage. And I do, like, I've worked out an income tax percentage as well. So yeah.
Which is what's the great thing about having a Profit First accountant, is that you can really actually, and being one, you can look at and say, well, realistically speaking, this is the tax that I'm going to be paying on how my business is going. So you can establish a really precise percentage for each business as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the book's pretty basic about tax, because it's written really for an international audience, and where tax rates and systems are going to be different all over the place. So you need, I think businesses could do with a bit more clarity around exactly what they need to put aside for what different taxes. The other thing is, with this Profit First system, talk about wages and the percentages, and you do the instant assessment and all that sort of thing. That's based on the profit and loss statement. The wages in the profit and loss statement include the pay as you go. So if you're going to work out a percentage based on an expense figure that includes wages, then that's the pay as you go as well. So you might as well transfer it, because it'll keep your percentages correct and it'll get rid of the problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people don't realise. So I love that you bring that up, because I know even with other Profit First professionals that are in their certification, it's something we don't think about. We see that in the like wages and salaries in the expense, but unless you remember, well, that's gross wage, PAYG, all of that in there, your percentages, you're going to have what feels like a lot of money in there if you're only paying the net wage. And you're like, oh, I don't need all of this and I can move it to another account. And then it's like, PAYG, I need to pay it.
Yeah.
So it's a common problem. I love the fact that you send it to the ATO, because I know most people don't do that. They actually put it into the tax or wages or a PAYG account. And then once they have their BAS and stuff fall due, then they'll pay it. Obviously, with you doing it, that you're paying in advance, it's a bit like what I would do with electricity and stuff. I just sort of pay an amount each, whatever, and then I'd be in credit and that sort of thing. The biggest question I get and the biggest worry from businesses is, well, what if I put too much money there and by the time I pay it, and then at the end of the year, I've got all of this money? What's your response to that?
Well, it's probably going to be only an issue with income tax. Mm-hmm. So the pay-as-you-go is just straight off your payroll reporting, and the same with superannuation. And then GST, if you overpay that, you'll get that back quarterly. So the only issue you're going to have is with your company tax or your personal income tax instalments. And you can monitor that. So you can run your profit and loss reports, and you can see what the profit's going to be, and you can see, oh, okay, well, I'll put this much aside, or I've paid this much to the ATO, and you can adjust your instalments. So as long as you're prepared to monitor it, there's not really a problem. And if you are concerned about that, then you could have a tax account for your tax on profit. Mm-hmm. So I think the advantage of doing that is that if you've just got a bank account for tax on profit, then you're not clouding what that money's for. Like, just one tax bucket is not clear on whether that's for GST or pay-as-you-go or your tax on your profit. So if you get rid of your pay-as-you-go and get rid of your GST every week or fortnight or whatever, and all you've got left is your tax on your profit in that account. And then if you don't pay that to the ATO straight away, that's okay. You don't have to pay anything to the ATO straight away, but it just takes care of it.
Also means that we don't take from our accounts, which when things feel tough, we tend to want to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, and as I said, it's the biggest problem that I see with business owners who get in financial trouble. It's because they haven't put aside their taxes. So, yeah, Absolutely. It's the biggest risk factor.
It really is. And it's probably the biggest cause of stress that I see as well.
Yeah.
For business owners, not just the running of the business and the clarity. If they have that, it's then like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay this. Do you know what I mean? Which is, It affects every aspect of life.
Yeah, it's an awful feeling. Yeah, for sure.
Is.
And so if you can take care of it straight away. And the other thing is, if you should be able to set up a tax forecasting template pretty simply. The issue that you've got with your standard profit and loss reporting is that you've got extra things that you might need to factor in. Like, you've got depreciation, you might have interest on bank loans, hire purchase charges, but there aren't that many extra adjustments. They're mainly those three, and then you need to know whether you're paying your tax on a cash or accruals basis. So once you know those things, you can produce a tax sort of forecast template and update that, and it should take you about 5 minutes. And so then,
okay, awesome.
Yeah, and then you'll know what your tax, the tax on profit that you've accrued for the year to date, and what it's going to be at the end of the year, and how much you put aside, and then you can see if you've got enough and so on.
Definitely think some people are going to be coming to you and asking for help about that, because just the words, tax forecast template, all of that, people are just going to go, how do I do that? So no, but I agree with you. I think once you have the clarity around it, it's quite easy to create something that you can monitor and keep on top of.
Yeah, we can put up some training or an online course on that in the next week or so. So
brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah, well, when it goes live, let us know, and we'll put it in the comments of this Facebook Live and send it out as well, because whoever needs help should get the help. All right, I've got another question for you. For business owners that are watching the replay, what is the one tip that you would offer them when it comes to profit first and the implementation in their business?
Oh, the one tip would be to get started. I suppose I don't know if I can limit it to one, because it can sound like a bit of a broken record, but I think the getting started and setting up the tax, as we've just discussed, is probably key. I think there's a lot of confusion around GST. I think a lot of people get, or they don't proceed because they're not sure how. So the thing that you can do, and this works pretty well if you don't have variable cash flows. Like, so if you're a builder, it can be a bit trickier because you're getting payments very at different time periods. But if you're getting reasonably regular cash flows, then if you just look at your last few BASs, you can see what percentage of your gross sales end up going out as a net GST payment, and then just apply that percentage and do that every week or twice a month or whatever. And then that should take care of, 80, 90% of your GST. So if you're stuck on that, then that's what I'd do.
Awesome. That's a great tip. And I think that, we suggest the 10%, which is generally too much for the stable sort of businesses, that because you've got the offset of, the GST on purchases and that sort of thing.
It is too much. Yeah, it's definitely. So a lot of businesses around 6-7%, depending on how much you're spending on subcontractors and materials and that sort of thing. Maybe a bit higher if you're like a consulting business. 8-9% maybe. But 10% is too much. And the issue you've got is if you are putting aside too much for tax, then you're not taking advantage of that cash. You could be spending that to grow your business, advertising, more staff, whatever it is. So it is worth nutting that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, because that's something that doesn't get spoken enough about in a really particular, precise way. Because like I know with, I deal with a lot of consulting businesses, and the 8 to 9%, 8%, 7 to 8% is usually what I see in terms of the GST. And then, for manufacturers and builders and that sort of thing, it's a bit different. It's probably lower.
Yeah, it will be lower.
Yeah. But no, that's great. Thank you. And for those that are bookkeepers, coaches, or other accountants that are considering becoming a Profit First professional, why should they consider becoming one?
Well, you get to be part of a good organisation. You do get introduced to businesses who are looking for help, and some of them may become clients. You get to meet other like-minded professionals, and like recently set up the Fortress Mastermind groups as well. So that's a way for personal or sort of business development for your own business as well. So yeah, it's good to be part of, for sure.
Awesome. And I think that's the key, is that whilst we're learning the theory of Profit First and ensuring that we can help other businesses to implement Profit First, we have to keep growing ourselves as business owners, because if we're not growing, then we can only help people so far. Do you know what I mean? In what it is that they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, the more experience we have, hopefully the better it translates to the client experience. Yeah.
Awesome. And so for the people that may want to get in contact with you or learn more about what it is that you do, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
You can email Angus at morrisonabs.com.au. So it's MORRISONABS, S for Sam. Or the website's morrisonabs.com.au. So,
we'll be putting that in the comments as well of this Facebook Live, and sending it out via email for those on our list. Because you offer a discovery call, don't you? So that you can understand what a person's looking to achieve and that sort of thing as well. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Happy to have a chat. Yep. No worries there.
Brilliant. Because I know the outcomes that you're getting for your clients are pretty awesome. So we'll share your details, and thank you so much for your time today. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know how busy you are. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Awesome. And I'm going to stop this live. If anyone has any questions in the replay, just put #replay, and Michelle or I will respond to things. And if there's a particular question for Angus, I can let him know as well, so that he can be in contact with you. Thank you again, Angus, for being with us, and see you next month for another Facebook Live.